Van Show. He's a monster on a mission to talk to lots of folks. Van Show, Van Show, Van Show, Van Show.
Hey everybody, it's the Van Show. Welcome, welcome. We're so excited today because we have two very special guests. We have Jarrett and Jerome Pumphrey. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, hey. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. Hey, I want to introduce you to my friend Fernie. Say hi, Fernie. Yeah, Fernie's gonna be our sidekick. So and feel free if you got any questions you want to direct to a Fern, direct them to Fernie.
Will do.
He speaks for the Fern community.
Great.
Yeah. So all right, so we want to get to learn a little bit about you. So first of all, tell us where you're from.
Originally from Houston, Texas, and now I live in Austin.
And I live in the Tampa Bay area.
Oh, wow. Oh, and I guess I should preface this that it is not a coincidence that you have the same last name, that you are indeed related.
We are. We're
That's
brothers.
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Okay. So now you're both artists. And so that's why we brought you on this show. So tell us a little bit about how you got into art. Like, how young were you? And what was that story like?
Yeah, so we have been making art together our whole lives, pretty much. When we were about 7 or 8 or 9, somewhere around there, we started making up stories about a character called Wonder Willis. He's a superhero. Jerome's first name is actually Willis. And so we wanted to be in our stories, and we created this character called Wonder Willis and made up stories. I wrote the words back then, and then Jerome drew the pictures.
Cool.
And we did that a lot growing up. And then when we were about 16, I was 17, Jerome was 15, I think, we wrote our first book that got published.
Yeah?
It's called Creepy Things Are Scaring Me. And it was a fun book. Jerome drew some pictures for that. We didn't end up getting to use his pictures. They hired another illustrator to do that. It would be 20 whole years after that before we made our first book where we got to write the words and make the pictures.
Whoa.
It's called The Old Truck. And so through that time, Jerome ended up working at Disney, and I ended up making video games and doing some other cool things. But we always wanted to make books together. That was always in the background. And so we kept at it, kept thinking about it. And then it was, 3 years ago?
That's right.
3 years ago that we made The Old Truck and got it published.
Wow. So, I mean, it sounds like, y'all been working together for a long time. And then just 3 years ago, it finally, became like a career thing. That your powers combined.
That's right. It all clicked. It all came together. It's been a dream come true. We've been making books ever since.
I love that. So now, Jerome, you work for Disney, is that right?
That's right.
Can you tell us a little bit about this? So, do you do animation or what? I know it's kind of a small company, so.
Well, so what I've done for Disney is I work in marketing. So that's
okay.
when I do design work for things that end up in advertising. And it's a lot of fun because I get to work with all the different characters that I grew up loving. And I get to use my skills in art to do my day job.
That's awesome. And so, as a designer, you're creating, I guess, like maybe commercials or posters. Is that the kind of stuff?
It's exactly that type of stuff. So where you might see an advertisement after the release of a movie that's showing food products. That's something that has to be dreamed up and it has to have a design. And so I work with a cool team of people that do that.
Wow. And you've been doing that for a while now.
Well, for about 6 years.
Very cool. Wow. And so then you've been doing the art there and making some scratch, and then you decided, you know what? It's time to team up. It's time to Wonder Twin powers activate, put your rings together, and create the Old Truck. So how did you decide to create this as your first book?
Well, that's a good question. I was actually just visiting Jarrett. At the time, we both lived in Texas, and I was driving from Houston to Austin. And on that drive, you pass a lot of farm property and, beautiful scenery. But one of the scenes I saw was a truck sitting in a field being overgrown by plants.
Oh.
And that image just made me think of there might be some really interesting story behind that. And so I brought that up to Jarrett as soon as I got to his house. And then shortly after that, we just started putting a book together.
Wow, cool. And from what I read, Now, and I don't remember which one of you is actually building that truck in real life. Is that right?
That is right. I am working on that truck. I started working on it as soon as we finished the artwork for the old truck. I decided I'd always dreamed of restoring a real old truck, so I got an old truck, tore it all down, and now I'm putting it back together. It's taking a minute, but I'm working at it.
You know, I imagine. And how old is the truck?
It is a '56 Ford F100.
That is definitely an old truck.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not something you like slap some Bondo on and go, all right, guys, it's good.
No.
Fernie might do that. Yeah, that's why you got fired from the body shop, Fernie. So now you're both illustrators in your own right. But you created books together, and you both do the art for the books. How do you combine your different and unique art styles?
So in our books, in our picture books particularly, we use what's called printmaking to make our books. And it's a really great process because it allows us both to contribute to the art. And so usually what happens is Jerome will draw a picture, he draws it on some foam. We make our prints with foam. And then sometimes he'll cut it out, or sometimes I'll cut it out to make a stamp.
Oh.
And then once you have a stamp, you put ink on that stamp and you make a print. And then we make all these different prints and we put them together in the computer, add color, and then that's how we have the artwork in our books.
You brought another book here. This is your newest book.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your newest book?
So this is our first graphic novel. It's about two brothers, just like us. They have active imaginations, what grown-ups call active imaginations, and they're these really vivid, sort of wild imaginations that these boys have. They go on adventures, hunting yetis, being in outer space, all these sorts of things, right? But what happens is when they're doing that, something actually is happening in the real world. So when they're hunting these yetis up in the snowy Himalayan mountains, what they're really doing is playing in these packing peanuts in the garage and making a big mess.
Oh, I
And
gotcha.
so it's inspired by our own childhood growing up. It's, like I said, part graphic novel, part regular novel. And so we get to see these brothers and their imaginations and how they clash with the real world. It's a lot of fun.
You guys are Junior Library Guild authors. Congratulations, author and illustrator. So I wanted, they had a question for you about the book you wrote, It's a Sign.
Yes.
And so they wanted to know, what would be included in your favorite things club?
What would be included in our favorite things club? So I would say probably video games would be in my favorite things club. I love video games. I played them when I was a kid, and I still play them today with my own kids. So that'd be mine.
That'd be great. I think I would have to have art supplies and definitely paint and paper. That'd be in my favorite things club.
So thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been awesome.
Yeah, thanks for
Thanks
having
for
us.
having us.
Yeah, totally. Goodbye.
Bye.
Van Show.